Portland area Boy Scouts were forced to find emergency shelter in Miami. Their high-adventure boat trip in Key West provided more adventure than they bargained for. Anxious parents were waiting for Scout Troop 477 to arrive safely back in Portland this afternoon.
It was a couple days before we heard from them. They said they were being evacuated, and then we didn't hear from them.
What was going through your mind?
I didn't think I'd see them again.
The Scouts' odyssey began when they left Portland on August 14th. After 2 years of planning and fundraising, the boys were looking forward to an 8-day sailing trip out of Key West. After only 4 days at sea, the Scouts and their 2 chaperones were evacuated to a shelter in Miami as the full force of the hurricane approached the Florida coast.
It was terrifying at first, but once the boys stepped in and took over and did great, they helped the Florida people and put water up in 5 floors, and they did great.
10 other Scout troops were packed in with thousands of homeless people in a boarded-up building at Florida International University. Richard Mills walked around the area after the storm hit.
I can't explain. It was everything was just totally ruined and trashed, and it was like, I thought about all the people that their homes were gone, and stuff. All these people were crying and everything because their homes were destroyed. It was really just sad.
The Scouts eventually found their way to Orlando, where a relative found room for all of them. And far from being disappointed, the Scouts said the trip exceeded their expectations.
More, definitely more. It was a high adventure.
The Scouts of Troop 477 aren't the only Oregonians who've come to the aid of Floridians. The Oregon Trail chapter of the Red Cross reports that locally, people have donated nearly $10,000 in disaster relief. Several local stores and restaurants have canisters, and Washington Mutual Bank has set up an account in
Some Portland victims of Hurricane Andrew are finally back home tonight. The storm literally blew the wind out of the sails of a North Portland Boy Scout troop. Teresa Luce explains.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention please. Announcing the arrival of Amtrak train number 25, the Pioneer, from the east.
Well, they'll probably just be all nice and mellow and just like, let's go home, but it's like we want to grab hold of them and keep them, you know. Hey, Luther, how you doing?
Hey, how'd it go?
Sure, the Boy Scout motto is be prepared. But when Troop 477 went sailing in the Florida Keys, they were not prepared for Andrew to strike. Scoutmaster Charlotte Hopman claims she wasn't nervous at the time.
Well, actually, I didn't feel it at all until now. Now my knees are shaking. Glad to see you.
During the storm, the boys were evacuated to a shelter in Homestead, Florida. That area is one of the hardest hit by the hurricane.
Nothing really happened. We were in the shelters. We slept right through it.
I was worried. I seen all the TV news, all that.
After surviving a hurricane, the boys had to endure a 5-day trip cross-country. They'd almost run out of money, so all they had left to eat was freeze-dried food. They were awfully excited to be going home.
The stress caught up with the kids on the train ride.
The food problems, basically, we had to eat freeze-dried foods, and people just got antsy about that, and money problems, so. But everybody turned out okay, right, Tommy?
This guy stuffed it all in here.
Richard Mills has a few hurricane souvenirs.
I'll have a coconut. Survived the hurricane.
Wow, I never saw one like that.
Yeah.
Richard's plans for sun and fun in Florida turned into a working vacation. At the shelter, the troop helped hurricane victims by making sandwiches and serving Kool-Aid.
I like to volunteer a lot. It's fun for me. It was a lot more than we bargained for. It was really fun. It was an adventure.
In Northeast Portland, Teresa Luce, the 10 o'clock news.
Well, a trip for the history books, huh?
Oh, yeah. But do you imagine, right there in the heart of the hurricane, that's where they evacuated to? Is Be Calm one of the...
Yeah.
They slept through this thing?
Obviously, they were very calm. That is our news for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
Boy Scouts found themselves caught right in the eye of the storm last week, stranded by Hurricane Andrew. It was a warm welcome home, though, for Scout Troop 477 this afternoon in Portland. The Scouts left Portland on August 14th for an 8-day sailing trip out of Key West. But halfway through the trip, the Scouts and their 2 chaperones were evacuated to a shelter in Miami. The kids made the best of the situation, helping out those left homeless. It's a scene Richard Mills won't soon forget.
I can't explain. It was everything was just totally ruined and trashed, and it was like, I thought about all the people that their homes were gone, and stuff. All these people were crying and everything because their homes were destroyed. It was really just sad.
The Scouts ended up in Orlando at the home of a relative before heading
Find
back.
empty shoeboxes all over